Good morning, Switzerland. Good morning, Lucerne. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful theatre here. Quite an interesting configuration.
We're happy to welcome to our studios here at Calabash TV, Schon Emmanuel. Many musicians in St. Lucia will know you very well, Schon. So most of us would probably have heard the name, but not the person, met the person, and so on. So welcome to Calabash TV.
Thank you.
You are a freelance sound engineer.
Yes, I am.
And we're just coming out of a season where there was a lot of sound. Right across the country, we had stages from Vieux-Fort to Soufrière to Mico and Castries, so there was sound all around the island. It's the Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival, when you get the top quality musicians from around the world coming to perform on these platforms here. I get the impression that you're here fairly often for the Jazz Festival.
Usually. In the last 3 years, I've been here, but I've been here several times with other artists, from Courtney Pine, which was the first international act that I came to St. Lucia with way back in like 2004. But I have been involved with the festival from about 95. So.
Okay, so we'll come back to, you mentioned Courtney Pine, we'll come back to you and the artists that you work with and so on. First of all, you grew up in St. Lucia, I imagine?
Yes, I did.
Right. So give us an idea what, first of all, got you interested in sound?
I've always had the love for music. Wanted to play the saxophone and was involved with the gospel band and my church just up the road. And it was just something that I was very interested in. I mean, I wouldn't say music was my first passion. It would have been engines. I really wanted to build engines for Formula One. That's what I wanted to do. But I think I just got the pull into music, and as they say, the rest is history.
So at the church, were you actually playing music or just doing the sound for them?
Just doing sound. It was mixing services and recording sermons in the pastor's office for broadcast. So I soon realized that I can do this, and I would like to definitely say thank you to Augustin Duplessis, who had a music shop on Chaussee Road, and I would go there and go, hey, could you get me this book, this, that, and I just consumed everything audio from then on, and still am, all these years later.
So you never went back to music? You didn't go back to music?
I think I preferred being the other side of the stage. I preferred being the other side of the stage because I did a small stint at the School of Music with Barbara Cadet. And, I remember doing a show at the Cultural Center playing a Kenny G song. And it was fine, but that's not where the joy was for me.
So at what point did you decide that, okay, this is something I can take seriously? Because I'm sure as a young person growing up, you have other career options that you can consider. At what point, what convinced you that definitely I'm going to go into this, I'm going to commit to it?
Working with Third Eye. Working with Third Eye, I had the opportunity to work with very experienced musicians, and going through the hotel circuit, you realize that, okay, this could actually be a full-time job. I did have a job, which I actually quit to do this, without telling my parents. So yeah, it was a full-on, this is what I want to do. I was 10 toes deep into it.
So were you doing mainly live events, or you also doing recordings with Third Eye at the time?
At the time, it was just live work. It was live work, but I would frequent studio in Mount Sepa, Arthur Tissot studio. So I spent a lot of time there just listening to Apex at the time. So that's kind of dating ourselves here. And just, getting a sense of what I really wanted to do, whether I wanted to do live work or studio work. And I left St. Lucia, went to England, and I studied music business and music technology at Kingston University in Surrey. There, it was a lot of studio work, but I had experience in doing live work in St. Lucia. So it was a nice balance. And I didn't really want to do studio work because I like the immediacy of live work. You commit and you move on. Whereas with studio work, you can go back, change this. It's like you make a decision, let's move on.
It's a lot high risk. Doing
high risk, high reward. High risk, high reward. It's so once I finished university, my first gig really was Courtney Pine. So I graduated in, what was it? August, September. And I started with Courtney November. And then spent 8 years with him.
Touring and everything?
Touring around the world. My relationships with artists have always been very long stints. So I've done like 8 years with Courtney Pine, 13 years with Billy Ocean. I'm currently on my 7th year with Van Morrison. And there are many other acts in between, but it's been long stints, very long stints.
Is it different? I guess every artist is different, but are you getting different challenges when you deal with different artists? Because I guess everybody's sound is different, I don't know.
Yes.
And her name is
It's understanding what the artist is looking for. You may have a situation where they want the record. They want it to sound like the record, or they say, no, I don't like what the record sounds like. Make it sound different. And you record stuff, you play back stuff, you have conversations. They may listen to things and go, hey, in this song, I would like more tambourine. And you're like, okay, the tambourine is pretty loud as is, but that's what they want. So that's the emotion that they're trying to convey. So you do what is required.
So when you started studying, I know some studies can be academic and some can be very practical, hands-on and so on. When you do audio engineering, you said you did business first.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it was a double.
A double.
Yeah.
So talk to us about the experience in terms of, is it very highly academic what you did, and was that a turn-off for you, or you were fine with it?
No, it was fine. I mean, I often retell the story that when I went to study, my whole aim was, okay, I'm going to study and then I'm going to come back and I'll run the cultural center. This was my thinking. And after 2 weeks sitting in the class, I'm like, hold on. This guy's from Norway, this guy's from Russia, this guy's from wherever. I'm not dealing with St. Lucia, I'm dealing with the world. And so there was that mindset change of, I need to be able to thrive in that environment, not just looking at St. Lucia.
You gotta not talk dirty, baby, if you wanna
the academia thing, it wasn't a problem. It was I actually embraced it because understanding music business or the business of music and the technical side was just a really nice marriage. It wasn't a case of, oh, well, it's just book work. We had a lot of field experience as well.
Now, obviously, the field experience, every setting is different, the acoustics and everything. Talk to us about how did your studies prepare you to deal with any possible scenarios? Because the first thing you have to try and deal with is what you have to work with, the equipment, the setting, and so on.
Again, that goes back to gaining experience. So when I get a difficult room, I actually relish that challenge. The largest acoustic rig in the world. I think of my experiences, again, going back to Courtney Pine. We did a cathedral tour of the United Kingdom. So if you think all the major cathedrals, we were playing jazz in major cathedrals. That sets you up for a hard day. But once you understand what the acoustics are and how to deal with it, it's a different approach to if you're in an open field. So with the cathedrals, it was almost like a Japanese book. It was quieter at the front, louder at the back, because you're not trying to excite the room. Whereas if you're in a big field, you want to try and cover as many people as possible. And having that experience, you're like, okay, I can fall back on this. I can use this technique. I can use that technique. And it's just experience.
Now, as a sound engineer, and you're touring now, I suppose you send out your rider and so on. Is it very challenging trying to get exactly what you need to work with, or you basically have to work with what you have, that you have to just basically adapt?
There's a large degree of adaptation. Even when you send the rider and you get most things. So, for instance, last summer, I was out with 21 Savage. And the rider states that I want a particular console in a particular configuration. And we get to Poland, and it's the same console, but not the configuration that I asked for. You just have to deal with it. I needed plugins, so we're online in the middle of a field. You know how difficult it is to get Wi-Fi to download stuff to make things work, but you do what you have to facilitate the artist. He doesn't care that I don't have the stuff that I need or they didn't provide it. All he's interested in is that his show happens. And so you just have to be flexible. We've done shows where I have not had all the stuff that I've asked for, but you use what's there, and they have turned out to be some of the better shows.
Do you have situations where we know artists sometimes can be demanding, and even in a band you might have different personalities and different egos to deal with and so on, that a particular guitarist may want to hear his guitar louder? Do you have to make the decision and say, look, listen, I'm the sound engineer here, I am basically running the show and not dictating, but at least making sure that your sound is the best for the audience? Yeah,
it's about conversation. It's about conversation. It's, about man management. Some of the harshest critics aren't necessarily the musicians, but their wives and girlfriends and family and that sort of thing. And it's like, okay, I get it, The guitarist's wife says, oh, I couldn't hear your guitar. He then thinks, oh, well, my guitar isn't. But then you play in the recording and he's like, oh, it's there, it's present. So What do you do at that point? You know, because you could mix the show with the guitar way up in the mix, but that's not the sound of the band. You know, so who do you satisfy? You know, sometimes you do have to have the hard conversation and go, hey, let's just work together as opposed to, you know, trying to service just one element or one person, because it's music. It's not just guitar solos.
So there has to be a very high trust factor between the producer, the sound engineer, and the musicians themselves.
It's a marriage. It's a true marriage, and the word trust is paramount, because that's why, you know, earlier I said I have had long relationships. It doesn't mean that every show is perfect, but if people know that that's my guy, and no matter what's going on, he's working diligently to make the best of the situation, over time, it becomes automatic. It's not like you just go, oh, okay, we'll be fine, no matter what's going on.
From the period when you worked with Third Eye and so on to now, I'm sure you've seen massive changes in the music industry. Now we talk about AI driven, so much technology driven by AI and so on. Talk to us about what did you have to do to make sure that you adapt and you stayed ahead of the game to ensure that you can handle all of the technological developments that were happening?
I mean, a lot of the technology, the advancements from the live side of things, speaker technology has improved massively, massively. Console technology has improved. You know, transmission of audio has improved. And even how the audio is consumed has changed. You know, where before it was DAT and CD and cassette, now it's all MP3s and videos on phones. So this is a conversation where a lot of engineers have had different views, because there have been bands who've judged their performance based on someone's video on an iPhone or Samsung or whatever phones out there. I've seen set lists changed based on what someone's watching on a phone and going, oh yeah, no, we'll just do this 2-track. No, we don't want the band here. And it's like, okay, you know, these are things that I've seen, you know, so it's just how things are consumed. It's not, you know, it's live music, and we can do postmortems on things from now till whenever, but we're dealing in the moment, in the instant, and the most we can do is try and minimize the variables to the best of our abilities.
Now, you're coming from the Caribbean, so you're used to a few different music styles, calypso, reggae, soca, even country, to some extent, jazz with Third Eye and so on. Talk to us about the different genres, and as an engineer, you know, I wouldn't ask you which one is the more challenging in terms of the sound that you have to get out, but how varied, or is there a universal formula that you use for, no matter what the genre is, there's one universal formula that you have to use for the mix?
No. I would say I've mixed a lot of jazz, a lot of gospel, a lot of gospel. I've been kind of known as the choir guy. So big choirs, 2,000-piece choirs, and people go, how do you do that? It's the same way I ask the guys who mix the orchestra stuff. How do you do that? Because I've had to do that, and it's not as easy as it seems, balancing violas and violins and all that, because of the frequency spectrum that these things tend to live in. So when it comes to genres, I think coming from the Caribbean, reggae, calypso, gospel, that sort of thing, it's innate in us. We from the time we're born, we hear it. So you kind of have a sense of yeah, I know what that should sound like. But then you get some Polish something and you have no clue what this instrument is, and they tell you it's supposed to sound like a trumpet, and you're like, okay, but it doesn't sound like a trumpet. But I give you an example: the ganjura, Indian percussive instrument. It looks like almost like a tambourine without the metal bits. But when you mix it, it's one of the most sub-heavy things that you can get. And you're like, how? When you hear it, it doesn't sound like that. But when it's mixed, that's how it's supposed to be mixed. And it's with the experience, it's with asking questions, the sitar, the kora, all these sorts of light string instruments. You're like, okay, well, how do I mic this? How do I get the sound that the player thinks, well, not thinks, but knows should be coming out of it? It's having conversation. And also having tools, as in microphones, and adapting microphones or soldering stuff or making stuff to fit the mold of the instrument and that sort of thing.
I know there was one instance many years ago. I remembered there was an American engineer who came down, and there was an issue trying to mix soca music, because, as you know, the soca probably are more drum and bass, and as opposed to country song that it might be muted a little bit. And I remember there was this conflict about this guy can't mix our music and so on. So that's what I was asking in terms of meeting the different genres.
No, it's again, you consume the stuff that you're going to mix. If I'm mixing something, I listen to it. If I'm mixing an artist, I listen to their catalog. And again, I know I've referenced Courtney Pine before, but when I started with Courtney, he gave me all his work. That was my homework. Go listen to that. Doesn't mean that he's going to play every song the way it is on the album, but once you get a sense of what's going on, then you go, oh, okay, that's what that should be. So at present, I'm doing Van Morrison, which is completely opposite to 21 Savage. Different ends of the spectrum. But yet I'm doing both.
So how busy is that? Does that keep you, being a sound engineer with those touring bands?
Quite. With Savage, I mean, he's kind of on pause right now. He had 45 date tour in the US, and then the whole summer festival run in Europe, and then he went into the UAE to do something in November. So he's home enjoying his family. With Van's putting out an album every 6 months. So I would have a band that would it's like an accordion. It grows, it shrinks, it just, we're currently about to go do two nights in Madrid, a festival, 2 sold out shows, but it ebbs and flows. There are times you have nothing in the diary. You go to bed, you wake up, and then there's like 20 shows that you now need to prepare for. So but it does keep you, because there are other things that's constantly, this morning I was updating input lists and stage plans for a show we have in Hyde Park called British Summertime. So that's like about 80,000 people. So yeah, it gets busy, it gets intense.
So talk us about your connection with the Lucia Jazz. We saw you around this year, around the sound booth Give us an idea of what your connection is.
This year I came in to do a particular act, Richard Payne. Had a secondary role as the babysitter for the front of house engineers. So in that role, in that capacity, it was really to ensure that their show files were loaded properly, that there's proper routing of signals to you guys, all the media feeds and all that sort of thing. And just to ensure that they were comfortable if they needed, simple things like water. You'd be surprised. Sometimes you're there and you're thirsty and you just need someone to hand you a bottle of water. So that was my role, just to ensure from a technical side that they were fine. Artistically, creatively, that's on them. And if someone was ever in trouble, that you could just go, hey, check this out, do.
So for young sound engineers here in St. Joseph, well, guys who are thinking of going that area, because we know there are a lot of guys with sound systems, DJs and so on, but there may be a couple of guys, and a lot of the guys have studios as well, who may be thinking, oh, I want to be like Schon. What are some of the things that you want them to start focusing on now to prepare for offering a service that's competitive globally?
The internet is a great thing, but we have to be mindful of what we consume. You may see a video, 5 things you must do for the best kick drum sound. That's not necessarily the best thing to be looking at, because you take it as gospel and then it doesn't quite work. Then what? Understand engineering principles. The game has moved on from the days of analog, where you'd have 16 people around a desk all turning a knob trying to figure out what's going on. You may get a sound and you'll be like, oh wow, oh yeah. But as to what the process was, no one knows. So the next time you want to sound, 16 people come again and come around. One of the first things I would say, understand microphones, speakers, polar patterns and splay angles and all that sort of thing. But just understand sound in general. We all have a musical library. We all know within ourselves what certain instruments sound like. What a good kick drum may sound like to me is not necessarily what it'll sound like to you. And one of the things that I've found, especially in the Caribbean, we have a lot of emphasis on bass. Everything is bass. And the reason for that is the rest of the system is out of whack. It's out of balance. The bass is just an extension of the rest of the PA. Now, if all you're worried about is the bass and not worried about the vocal, then you get that situation of, oh, well, we can't hear the vocal. The music is too loud. The music is overpowering. If you read a lot of articles, a lot of the top mixers will tell you, the first thing they tell a lot of young engineers is, easy on the kick drum. That symphony of kick drum, think of it as driving a straight road. It's easy. The kick drum's just going. As soon as you get to a curve, what do you do? What do you do? Where does that go? Do you go off a cliff with the kick drum? It's about balance. It's about, you think of drum and bass, you think of jungle, you think of hip hop. there's a lot of low end in those genres of music. When you try to overemphasize low end in, say, soca music, it's hard to reproduce because of the speed, because of the tempo of the music. A reggae bass line seems exaggerated, seems really big, because there's so much space. But if you're playing really, really fast notes, it's hard to make that big, because it has no time to develop. So it's just understanding these things. I'm not saying that we shouldn't, worry about low end, but everything in balance. If the PA is well set up, you don't have to worry about it. It will do its thing. It will do its thing. And sometimes we have loads of subs, but are they properly set up? It's all these. So when you ask, what should a young man who wants to get into, understand principles, understand gain structure, understand mic placement, test things, try things, experiment, and not on a show, in your backyard, in your, wherever you keep your equipment. Your equipment shouldn't only get turned on when somebody calls you for a show and say, oh, now I have to put it all together. You should be doing things at home, figuring out, okay, why does this mic sound better than that mic? You've done a show. When you go back, test your equipment. Not just put it in the truck and put it away and think, oh, well, it worked. Because you may have had a broken driver that you're not aware of. And then you come to the show and it's broken, and now you're like, oh. Everyone's like, why does it sound like that? And what are you going to say? Oh, but it was fine last night.
I know we were friends, guys, quite a bit. I know this year I saw a few ladies doing sound, so that also applies to ladies as well. Like any young lady who wants to get into sound certainly can. Do you find that you've increasingly there are more ladies, more females getting into sound?
There are quite a few females globally. There's a whole forum of female engineers. One of the more notable monitor engineers in the UK, I can reference Vicky Pell, I think her name is. She has her own little thing going with female, and it's not just a male. It can be a male-dominated industry, but there are a lot of ladies out there doing it, and they do it very well. It's principles. It's not oh, I'm a man. They can lift as much stuff, even more sometimes than, it's about your mindset.
Schon, we're really happy you gave us the time to speak with you. I'm sure we'll have further conversations with you. I know you're getting ready, like you said, to do a few gigs and so on. And you were here for Jazz. We're likely to see you back for, I guess, the Jazz is the main festival that you do, or you do other festivals here as well?
Yeah.
So you want Calypso and so on?
No. Usually, I've not been around in July, because that's peak
summertime.
That's peak touring time for me. I mean, although this year it looks like my July is empty, so I'm available. Call. You just need to call. That's it. You just need to call, because nowhere's that far away. You could get anywhere in the world within 12 hours.
So you're based in the UK right now?
I'm based in the UK. Yes.
Okay. Schon, thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
And I'm sure we'll have further conversations with you.
Yes, sir.
On this and other issues. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being here for Richard as well, and the other artists you work with, and all the best for the future.
Yes. Thank you.